As the mayor of the town of Clayton, I'd like to call this regular town council meeting to order. I ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Most gracious and heavenly Father, we pause to give you thanks for the many blessings of this day. And we ask, Lord, now that you be with us as we proceed with the business for the town of Clayton. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, a couple minor adjustments. Under item 4A, we would like to add an update on the kerosene release over the weekend. Under item 9D, staff reports, we would like to add a Hurricane Ian response update. And just to clarify, the closed session is for a legal matter. The reference of the statute was correct, but wanted to make sure that it is known that it is a legal matter, not an economic development matter.
All right. Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Up next is your consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion and a second to, approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right. Up next, administrative items, kerosene spill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, we had a little bit of activity over the weekend here related to a kerosene release. Just wanted to give some context and understand where we're at today so that everybody can understand the expectations moving forward. Clayton Fire Department initially investigated a fuel smell Friday night as part of the Hurricane Ian response around 10 o'clock. They were not able to locate anything, partially due from the remnants of the storm still being around, as well as it being dark. However, Saturday morning, they were able to go out and identified a kerosene release occurring at the TRL Oil Company on Main Street. The company immediately initiated the cleanup efforts and the reporting required for it. They brought in a company called HEPACO, which is a professional contractor experienced in hazardous material releases, to perform the cleanup. They mobilized their emergency response team instantly, and they were on site just about noontime on Saturday and began the cleanup. The incident was reported to all the appropriate local and state and federal agencies in the town, and the company had been working with them to resolve the situation. Out of an abundance of caution today, speaking with Department of Health and Human Services, we did issue a recommendation for a recreational water advisory for the section of Little Creek between Main Street and US 70 Business. Actually extended it further down just beyond Lombard as a precaution. That corridor is not, a lot of the stream through that area is actually piped, so the recreational opportunities are not abundant, but we did at least want to make people aware that not to use it for recreational uses. It is not a potable water source or drinking water source, so that is why it is a recreational advisory. Until the water is tested and declared safe from the environmental folks and the public health officials, they recommend to avoid swimming and wading, avoid skin contact. If skin doesn't come in contact, to thoroughly wash the affected area with soap and water. And if they're concerned that their family or pets have been exposed, certainly reach out to their medical professionals. Moving forward, this is an ongoing cleanup effort. Honestly, if we didn't have some of the weather come through yesterday as well, they would have been able to make a little more progress, but Mother Nature has its ways. But this is an ongoing cleanup. It may take several more days just to complete the initial. As of today, as of this meeting, the section from Main Street near TRL's down to approximately Mitchell Street, that has been flushed. And an agent was actually added to it that is environmentally friendly to try to mitigate the actual odor from the kerosene. So hopefully that we'll see that improvement. Again, the weather's not been helping with that smell dissipating as quickly as we would have liked, but hopefully this will help it. Tomorrow morning, there will be flushing again occurring down kind of from that general vicinity down to just behind kind of the McDonald's on Amelia Church at the bottom of the hill there. They'll be damming that up and taking out any additional product, although we don't expect there to be a significant amount at this point. Just downstream of that on Amelia Church Road is really the last piece. It's the furthest location that's got, it's actually a beaver dam has been blocking the majority of the product that's in the water. However, to get access to it, they will have to shut down a portion of Amelia Church Road. That will occur tomorrow morning, probably sometime 9:30 or so after the morning commute has occurred, so that they can get in there safely and pull out the remaining product. Again, once the cleanup is completed, we've coordinated with Johnston County Emergency Management. They'll be coming to fly a drone up and down the channel and a little bit downstream just to make sure that we got everything or that the company got everything. Any of the costs associated with this are going to be borne by the permit holder, so TR Lee in this point, because the release may be storm related, it's possible that that could be reimbursable to them at some point down the line, but as of right now, the town is tracking any of our expenditures that we've had to make sure that we recoup all those costs. Once we get the all clear from either both the Department of Environmental Quality and Department of Human Health Services, we'll go ahead and lift the recreational ban. But until then, we do ask people to just try to avoid entering the stream. Certainly, it has enough hazards in it amongst itself there, but we do expect that the overall stream health to rebound and to get a clean bill of health here in the coming days or weeks once the testing is completed. If there's any additional questions, folks can certainly reach out to the town. We've posted that information in our press release earlier today and are happy to discuss any additional questions you have at this time.
Questions or comments? All right, thank you for the update. Up next, under introductions and special presentations, we have employee introductions, and I will give the floor to Justin Pulley. Or not.
I am not Justin Pulley, but I will do my best to stand in for him. Council, Mayor, thank you so much for allowing us to do an employee introduction today from our grounds department. And with me, we have Justin Goss, who joined us about 2 months ago. And Justin came to us from 13 years of experience at the RDU airport. We talked on the phone one day, very early on in the interview process, about his desire. He's a Clayton resident the past 4 years to move closer and to join our team. He interviewed, was outstanding, and has received kudos the entire first 2 months that he's been here. He has some experience in landscaping, but has actually become quite an expert in a short period of time. There is no one that I've spoken to during his initial period here have not been absolutely thrilled with his work. We could not be happier to have him as a part of our team. He has 2 children, and he's trying to get out of here quickly today because he is on dad duty, he says, and a fiance, and again, they live here in Clayton. We are delighted to have him, so I present to you Justin Goss.
Make it short. All right. First, thank you, Dolores. I would like to give a special thanks to the town of Clayton for this job opportunity you've given me. I also would like to say I look forward to continuing to serve the people and places in our community. This job opportunity has brought many great changes for my family and I, and we are greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Awesome, welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Back to dad duty. That's awesome. All right, up next on the agenda is the Harbor Shelter Domestic Violence Awareness Month proclamation. Ladies first.
Good evening. My name is Kay Johnson, and I am the Executive Director of Harbor of Johnston County. I have standing before me Ms. Ruth Anderson, who is the chairperson of the Board of Directors. Mr. Mayor, to the council, just to provide an overview of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It was launched nationwide in October of 1987 as a way to connect and unite individuals and organizations working on domestic violence issues while raising awareness to those issues. Over the past 30-plus years, much progress has been made to support domestic violence victims and survivors, to hold abusers accountable, and to create and update legislation to further those goals. This year, our campaign is We Are Resilient, speaks of the thousands of individuals served throughout this community and have sworn to be courageous and to show strength during some of the most difficult and traumatic times in their lives. Thank you for bringing awareness to domestic violence in our agency by adopting this proclamation this evening, as we as a staff continue to be warriors to those who interact with our organization.
Wonderful. So I'd like to take this opportunity to read this proclamation. Proclamation, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, October 2022. Whereas home should be a place of warmth, unconditional love, safety, and peace. However, tragically for many Americans, these are blessings that are tarnished by violence and fear. And whereas domestic violence touches the lives of Americans of all ages, leaving a devastating impact on women, men, and children of every background and circumstance, with the family's home being a place of fear, hopelessness, and desperation. When a woman is battered by her partner, a child witnesses the abuse of a loved one, or a senior is victimized by family members. And whereas domestic violence remains a major public health, social justice, and human rights issue requiring particular attention, and its interventions must be with the inclusion of both women and men at all levels. And whereas there is an urgent need more than ever to get involved, and whereas the wide prevalence of domestic violence and sexual assault, along with the shocking silence and inaction around those issues, compels all of us to come together and get involved to end the abusive violence in our relationships, our families, and our communities. And whereas since 1984, Harbor Incorporated has been actively involved in addressing domestic violence in our community and has collaborated with numerous people and groups to respond, educate, and bring awareness to all people about domestic violence. And whereas Harbor Incorporated serves approximately 3,000 direct victims and others annually, and would like to invite everyone to support October 2022 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, as it will be dedicated to the We Are Resilient campaign. And whereas the campaign underscores the urgent need for involvement by taking action, speaking out, breaking our silence, and speaking and seeking help when we see this problem in our life, in our family, and in our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Clayton does hereby proclaim this month of October 2022 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and urges all town citizens to observe this month by becoming aware of the tragedy of domestic violence, support those who are working towards its end, and make a personal commitment to get involved in the campaign We Are Resilient. Proclaimed this third day of October 2022, Jody L. McLeod, Mayor, Town of Clayton. So I'd like to present this to you, ladies. Thank you so much for all you do to make everybody safe at home. Can we get a picture? Yeah. Can we have a nice round of applause for this group?
Middle.
Thank you. Surely out of four, we got a good picture of the roof, right? Thank you.
Probably takes four.
All right. Thank you, ladies. Up next is the National Community Planning Month proclamation. Community Planning Month proclamation. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, bureaus, townships, rural areas, and other places. And whereas community planning and plans to help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work and live. And whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine their future of their community. And whereas the full benefits of planning requires public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and planning implementations. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories, and whereas American Planning Association endorses National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight how planning is essential to recovery and how planners can learn and how planners can lead communities to equitable, resilient, and long-lasting recovery. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of these members of planning commissions and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvements of the town of Clayton. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional, community, and regional planners of the town of Clayton, we extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the month of October 2022 is hereby designated as Community Planning Month in the town of Clayton in conjunction with the celebration of National Community Planning Month, proclaimed this third day of October 2022. And this evening, we have some representatives from all of aspects of planning, and I'd like for you to join me up front. If you're on the planning board, if you're working for the town in planning, any of those, please come forward and let's get a group shot and show you our appreciation for all you do.
Don't get in the bag. Don't.
Yeah, you guys know the rules. And 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you.
All right, up next is the Clayton Award presentation for Sculpture Trail.
Good evening, Mayor McLeod and members of council. My name is Bynum Walter. I'm co-chair of the Awards Committee of the American Planning Association North Carolina chapter, and the APANC Awards Committee was established in 1975 and recognizes the places, people, and projects that represent the highest standards of achievement in the North Carolina planning community. I'm pleased this evening to recognize the Clayton Sculpture Trail with an honorable mention award for Great Place for Public Art. This is one of the 15 awards that the chapter announced during our conference in Winston-Salem on September 14th. And I just want to, what a great project. This was, you know, we present all the awards to the chapter, and your project and the beautiful pictures of the sculpture in your project really made the presentation a lot more interesting. So, you know, while an art walk is not necessarily unique to Clayton, the scale of this exhibit is remarkable given your town size and your long-term commitment to this. So 8 years in, continuing to bring very high-quality public art to your downtown is remarkable. The awards committee particularly noted the annual rotation of work and how much, that's a heavy lift, so well done for keeping going with that. And also observed that the sculpture trail is really enhancing placemaking and community engagement in Clayton. So I know that the town council is a big champion of the sculpture trail. Your efforts, along with the Public Art Advisory Board, your property maintenance staff, communications and outreach, economic development, and other town staff members make the sculpture trail a great place for public art in North Carolina. congratulations. I'm extra happy to deliver this during Community Planning Month. So congratulations to the town of Clayton Sculpture Trail, a great place for public art.
Thank you. And Sarah Perricone, I'm going to ask you to come right up front with me and accept this, because it's Sarah's leadership and the Public Art Advisory Board and really the entire town of Clayton and every various department that has helped over the last 8 years to create this to be what it is. And it really just started with wanting to be able to have something to do after you have a fine meal in downtown Clayton.
Right.
And now it's just grown and expanded, and it's been wonderful to see school kids come down and get educated on public art, or see one piece and go back to the classroom and write a story about what they saw today. And, you know, it's been wonderful to just see two people who don't even know each other walk up at the same time to a piece of public art and be able to engage in a conversation about likes and dislikes and all of it, you know. And of course, there have been times we have received some negative feedback about some of our sculpture pieces, which is okay, because, you know, public art is a bit of an oxymoron. Public meaning for everyone, and art, and maybe art is not for everyone. So it's wonderful when we get those compliments of, I can't believe y'all have this, or I can't believe you selected that, or how amazing this is, or how amazing that is. You know, it's been wonderful to bring this community together and to help us celebrate our culture and who we are and where we come from with public art. So thank you for the acknowledgement.
Sure. Where's your art chair? Oh, there you go.
Yes. You give it a minute. Yeah. Then we can fight over who gets this award.
1, 2, 3.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
Public. Right? Yeah.
We'll take a piece of art. There you go. Put it on one. All right, next up under old business is the upset bid for the R. Stephen Biggs Regional Wastewater Pretreatment Facility.
Mayor, since we're getting into this item tonight, could the clerk just confirm publicly the status of any upset bids that might have been received or not?
As of 5 o'clock today, there have been we have not received any other bids.
Good evening. Patrick Pierce, Economic Development Director here at the town. Thank you for having me. So I wanted to walk through the upset bid process and just where we've been, where we are right now, and the resolution you all are considering tonight. So the piece of land that is under consideration, there's about just over 22 acres that is an annexed piece of land where the current facility, the R. Stephen Biggs pretreatment facility, exists. There's also a pump station at the rear of that property, and some excess property totaling about 8 acres at the front of this parcel. As you can see, it is in close proximity there to both of the Novo Nordisk facilities, both their IFP and API facilities. It opened in October of 2019. This piece of infrastructure was built as part of the $2 billion API announcement of Novo Nordisk. A few years before that, it was about a $40 million project altogether, with a mix of private, public, and nonprofit funding to build that facility, and was originally constructed as a regional facility to serve multiple different users. So, as things do, things change. As we heard in the declaration of planning month, the context has changed, and currently, right now, it is owned and operated by the town of Clayton, or owned by the town of Clayton, operated by a third party, but is only utilized by a single user, which is Novo Nordisk. We did go through a system valuation earlier this year in August. This was based on the value at the end of our fiscal year, which is June 30, 2022. The facility itself was valued at $32 million. That excess 8 acres there was valued between $1.25 and $2.25 million, and this is all consistent with what we carry on the books as the town in our financial statements. So again, that changing context, this was built as a regional facility with the anticipation of multiple users in the RTZ using that, and new users coming on board to be able to utilize this asset as well. At the same time, the scope of Novo Nordisk's operations have changed since that 5 years of their announcement and since this project was first conceived. And there was also a recent project announcement by the company as well. So this is the process here that went through with the upset bid. So we received that bid at the town September 16th for $34.2 million for the asset. On September the 19th, you all accepted to propose and start the upset bid process. It was published then that Thursday in the News and Observer and ran for the 10 days, and that expired here at 5 p.m. today. With, as the clerk stated, no additional bids were submitted. So that current bid, as I mentioned, here's that process here that was laid out. Other components of that of the offer as it was received, that we will work with the company, and the company will work with the town to make sure that all of the necessary easements for the pump station in the rear of the property will be executed. The deal will close before the end of the year. All the fees and associated costs for the purchase of the facility will be borne by the company, and we've also been in contact with the granting agencies from some of the other funding sources, and they have all agreed with basically us being able to sell the facility and not have to return those funds. So on that, the staff recommendation is for approval of the resolution because it will allow us to put these proceeds towards the Sam's Branch wastewater reclamation facility, which in theory should close the funding gap, the anticipated funding gap there. This will allow the town to incur less debt, which will help contain future borrowing costs, and that gets pushed down to users as rate increases. Also, because it is a single user facility, it is just really more appropriate for that single user to be able to own and operate this facility on their own. And it's an important piece of infrastructure for the company to continue to grow, to continue to have the current operations, and with expansions being announced, continue to grow here in Clayton, which is a great thing for the town and for Johnston County. So our next steps, if approved, will be to work with the company over the next few months to get this executed, and talking with the company, and Shayla News-Jones here is as well if you all have any questions, but would be to make any expansions and upgrades to that wastewater facility that are necessary for their operations. So with that, I welcome any questions you have and your consideration of the resolution.
Questions or comments for staff? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Turn it over to council for your discussion. Ms. Archer.
If there's no discussion, I'd like to make a motion to accept the offer from Novo Nordisk.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the offer from Novo Nordisk. Is there any further discussion?
Thank you. I was going to do them separately, but this is easier. And approve Resolution 2022-76.
Second.
So now we have a motion to accept the offer from Novo Nordisk and to approve the resolution number 2022-76. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next under new business is the budget amendment for non-reoccurring state aid to libraries.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I'm Joy Garrettson, Library Director at the Hooker Ellington Memorial Library. I am here to ask you to accept the budget amendment for us to be able to accept some non-recurring state aid from the state library. So just a little bit of background. Earlier this spring, the state library contacted us and let us know that they had received extra CARES funds from the state, and we're going to be dispersing that to libraries. But as with many things at the state level, it took a little bit of time for them to know how much that was going to be and what rules were going to be attached to it and all of that. So rather than trying to shove that in at the very end of our budget year, after getting feedback from library directors, they said, well, we'll get our ducks in a row and contact you after the new budget year starts. So in July, early August, they got in touch with us and let us know that they were going to be giving lump sums to library systems in the form of non-recurring state aid. So the amount that they have given, or that they're going to give to this to the Clayton Library is $47,277. And this has slightly different rules than normally would be, we'd be under with a grant. We can spend some of this money on furniture, we could spend it on carpeting, paint, a few different things. Typically with grants, you can't really spend that money on furniture, on those kinds of materials. We have not yet made any final decisions about how we'll spend that money. We were excited. I didn't know how much it would be. We didn't know if it would be $5,000. So $47,000 is a lot more than that. So we're really excited about that and trying to make some decisions. As you all know, we have many needs at the library, so we're going to do our best to be wise with that. While we will be getting that lump sum, actually probably in the next week or so, which is really exciting, but we don't have to encumber those funds until December 31st, 2024, and we don't have to spend them until December 31st, 2026. I'm pretty sure we're going to spend them and encumber them before that, but we have plenty of time to make the best decision with these funds. So I'm going to ask Robert to come up and propose the ordinance. Does anybody have any questions before we move forward?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, members of council, Robert McKay, Finance Director. Joy, spot on with the grant that we're receiving. We actually received the funds on September 29th, so the money's in our bank account. So we have to go through the formality of appropriating that revenue along with the additional expenditures that we're going to utilize with that grant proceeds. So that budget amendment, that's what that's doing. It's appropriating the revenue along with the associated expenditure.
Awesome. Questions or comments for staff? All right. Mr. Thompson.
I think the state recognizes a good library that will put the funds to good use. I'm really shocked at that amount, but to me, that speaks volumes of our program in general, and that they have faith that we will put the money to good use.
Yeah. Are you making a motion?
So, Mr. Mayor, with that, I will make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-10-01.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to amend ordinance 2022-10-01. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you both. All right, jumping down staff reports, beginning with the manager.
Mr. Mayor and Council, a couple quick updates. One, yesterday was National Custodian Appreciation Day, a little over a year ago, or maybe almost 2 years ago now. Time flies. You all elected to bring the custodial efforts back in-house, and I got to say we've got a great team. Just want to give them a shout out for all the great work they've done and continue to do for us. Also, just a reminder that it is Public Power Week. The town does have several appreciation things going on for all of the staff associated with delivering electric to our customers, but certainly if you are happy to see one of our staff out and about, please thank them, because this is our week to honor them. Last but not least, tomorrow is a big day for us. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. as the official bid opening for the wastewater treatment facility project, the water reclamation facility project, assuming we get 3 bids. So we are anxiously awaiting that, and we'll certainly report that out to you all once we've received the bids, opened them, and verified. So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have some good news to share one way or another. If we do not receive 3 bids tomorrow, it will be re-advertised for 7 days, and the following Tuesday, the 11th, will be the opening date for that. So
Where's that going to take place?
here at Town Hall. So we will let you know as soon as we have something to report. Other than that, that's it.
All right, Town Attorney? Town Clerk?
No report.
Other staff? All right, we're going to get a stormwater program audit update. He's next.
Good evening, Mayor, Town Council, Joshua Baird, Engineering Director. Several months back, we reported that our program was going under an MS4 audit that stands for the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. It's through the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System requirements for our stormwater program. The program went under an audit back in March of this year, and just recently in September, we received those audit reports, and I'm here to report back on those. The audit coincides with the permit cycle, so those permits are 5-year cycles. Our permit is up for renewal in January. The audit follows on the heels of that, and then we receive feedback of any deficiencies that then goes into the renewal of our new permit and our stormwater management plan, also known as SWAMP, short for the SWMP. So if you recall, back in March, the auditors from DEQ went over 3 of our minimum measures. So they focus on 3 of the 6 areas. The areas that they focused on were the illicit discharge, detection and elimination, construction stormwater, and then pollution prevention and good housekeeping. And then as an overall, they looked at also the program implementation in terms of how we're record keeping and what documents we have on file. As part of the pollution prevention and good housekeeping portion of it, they did request to visit the operations center to see how we manage our operations and anything that we're doing to prevent pollution from entering the waterways as part of that component of the permit. So as I mentioned, we received the final report on September 30th. I did provide a copy of that report to you via email today. Following through that, we did receive a notice of deficiency. It is one of the 3 outcomes that could come from it. The state will issue either a notice of compliance, a notice of deficiency, or a notice of violation. There were certain gaps that were identified in that report. If you recall, we really kicked off the program kind of mid-2020. We took over from the county who was administering both the erosion control and the stormwater. We've had a permit before that, but really in that time frame began to get some dedicated staff that were working towards implementation of that permit. So we've made a lot of progress on that, but the notice of deficiency does still call out some of the gaps. So I don't have the most recent numbers, but about 6 months ago, there was some data that put out by the state in terms of the number of municipalities that were receiving that notice of compliance, notice of deficiency, and notice of violation. There's a significant number of municipalities that are receiving the notice of deficiency. There's been a couple of notice of compliances out there, but the state does have some very high expectations for that. But it was good to see that we were certainly not in the notice of violation category. So as I mentioned, I did email it to you. I just want to kind of point out a few of the key things that was brought up in the audit report. In terms of the program implementation, one of the key things was looking for inspection reports that have been provided to the town for all of our privately maintained stormwater control measures. So any new development that comes online, builds an SCM, the permit requires the private property owner to submit a report from a licensed professional to the town showing that stormwater control measure has been maintained and is functioning as it was designed to in treating the stormwater. That is one of the areas that we called out, and we are working to further Under the illicit discharge detection and elimination, there was also some gaps found in our outfall inspections. The state looks to see what they call dry weather inspections of major outfalls. One of the reasons for that is during dry weathers, if you've got some kind of flow from a pipe, it's likely something that's entering that other than rainwater. So during those dry weather events is an opportune time to go out to those major outfalls, look to see is there anything coming out the end of the pipe that may be indicative of some type of illicit connection upstream in that basin. So that is something that we are also working to improve on. The other things noted under pollution prevention and good housekeeping was a stormwater pollution prevention plan, so an SWPPP for our operations center, and then looking to see some additional inspections. So one of the things is actually just putting this plan in place in terms of things need to be covered, what can get out in the rain, just doing what we can at our own facilities to be a good steward of protecting the waterways. So we're also working through that. Moving forward, the notice of deficiency does call out several items. We do have to respond in writing within 30 days, just notifying the state that we did receive it and that we are working to address the deficiencies. They also require a self-evaluation of the other components. So the other components are the public education and outreach, the public involvement and participation, and then the post-construction site runoff controls. And again, the post-construction is where I mentioned earlier in terms of documentation that the state was looking to see additional inspection reports that we received from those private SEMs and the owners. We have already initiated working on that. One of the things we're doing is starting to send out letters to those property owners who own an SEM, requesting for them to send us a documented letter and inspection report from a licensed professional that they have looked at it. It is functioning and working as it was designed to in its first place. The third thing we're supposed to do is to develop a stormwater management plan. We have already developed a draft stormwater management plan that we have sent to the state for comments, and we are waiting feedback on that stormwater management plan. We're also supposed to submit an application for the next permit cycle, so the next 5 years beginning in January, and we have submitted that application as well. And then we are to respond to any comments on the final stormwater management plan. Once we get it back from the state, we will ask you as the town council to adopt that management plan. That's a roadmap for where we're going, how we will get into compliance over the next 5 years. So that's kind of just a quick update. Again, you do have a copy of it. Certainly happy to answer any questions. In terms of notice of deficiency, again, we've came a long way since we took the program in-house. We certainly had some challenges over the past few years of instructing and telling the public and getting everyone on board, certainly what this is, what it's for, and the education piece of it. We've made some good progress, and I'm confident once we get the stormwater management plan, we really lay out that roadmap for the next 5 years, that by the time the next cycle comes around, the next audit, certainly, hopefully, we should be able to get a notice of compliance. So with that, just a brief update, and I'm happy to take any questions on the report or the program itself.
Awesome. Questions or comments? Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate the update. Up next is going to be LAP projects.
Mayor, Council, Patrick Pierce, Economic Developer. Once again, every year before we submit our LAP projects, we like to bring these before you as part of our staff update and just make sure that you're informed as to what staff is considering to submit. So we have 2 projects here. This is part of the CAMPO, the Central Area Metropolitan Planning Organization's LAP program, which is the locally administered projects program. So it's a competitive funding program as part of CAMPO. It uses federal funding sources that are attributed to the region and programs them out into three areas. So they've got a transit element, a roads element, and a bike ped element. They all require a 20% local match or non-federal match, and they are eligible for, or any members of CAMPO, which we are eligible for these funds. So it's a great funding source. We've been able to fund historically several projects here in town: Sam's Branch Greenway Extension, the First Street Extension, Cross Clayton Pedestrian Connector. The Ranch Road Extension was a partnership with NCDOT, which is in process now, and then East Main Street Sidewalk Connector, which is also in process. So good project history there. For the federal fiscal year 24, we've got two projects that we are considering. The first is a bike ped project that would go from Robertson and West Main Streets, a sidewalk connector, and then Shotwell Road and Business 70 intersection improvements. We'll start with the bike ped here. So what that would do on Robertson Street, actually, is it technically, I guess, would be Amelia Church down at the Cross Clayton pedestrian connector there. So just beyond Hudson's, there's that pass project there that is a greenway project that goes behind that development on the south part of 70 there. It would connect from there up to Business 70, across Business 70, past the high school, and up to West Main Street, which would create great connectivity there. We also would be looking to do an additional crossing at across Business 70 at Robertson there, and would provide access there. That would then, at the West Main Street, head west and go from Robertson to Atkinson Street, which would connect to some additional sidewalk that the town funded at Moore Street, and connect in everything there at the Bartex Business Center there. So this is going to be for design and right-of-way. We anticipate the total project for those pieces to be $1.25 million. So we'd do a 20% match at the local level, which would need to be in next year's budget at $250,000, and that would be for a grant of $1 million. And this gives you a visual here in the red line. So really open up between the connector, the downtown sidewalk street network there, really give you a lot of access both to the south side of town and everything there, and really extend the West Main sidewalk there, which I know has been something I hear a lot about at our Downtown Development Association board meetings. The second is a roadway project, and this was originally an NCDOT project, but was permanently delayed indefinitely because the money they had budgeted, all their bids came in at twice the money that was in the budget, which is unfortunate, but as we certainly know from other projects, is a reality these days. So we talked with them about being able to apply and partner together as we are on Ranch Road. So this would be a construction-only project, which are typically highly competitive, and it would construct 2 left turn lanes there, northbound Shotwell onto Business 70, and eastbound Business 70 and a Shotwell, and then some extension lane to receive that traffic on Shotwell on the north side, or on the north side of Shotwell at Business 70. This would be a $4.6 million grant, but the total project is $5.75 million, and all the matching funds are provided by NCOD and private development, which is fantastic. So I did my best here with some arrows, but give you some sort of sense there. So as you're coming up out, if you're coming north there on Shotwell, there's a single turn lane there, and that can be kind of a congested intersection. That'll create 2 turn lanes there, so added capacity to get left. And similar to sitting, if you're coming into town eastbound, you'll have 2 left turn lanes instead of 1 there to go up onto Shotwell. And that red block there is where that additional lane would be there to receive those cars as well. And we've got Joshua Baird here, who we've been working closely with engineering. So if I missed anything, I will.
Yeah. 2 quick items here I want to convey on the for the Robertson and Main Street sidewalks in us looking to just submit for the preliminary engineering and the design as well as the right-of-way. If we do go for that and we do get funded, there is a commitment that the town does look to construct that within 10 years, I believe, of the project. So there is that upfront commitment. Right now, we would just be talking about the preliminary engineering and design right-of-way. However, it would be a commitment for the town to look to construct that. That is a relatively large corridor, and so project could be upwards of $3.5 million. Just keeping in mind, too, that there would be that minimum 20% match. So in committing to submit an application for the design and right-of-way, we are also getting commitments to further that project within the next 10 years of at least that minimum 20% match. So I did want to at least just be mindful of that if we're looking to submit this as a preliminary design and right-of-way project. The other thing, too, what makes the Shotwell and US 70 intersection a great project for this as well is DOT has acquired all of the needed right-of-way and easements. So that is basically a shovel-ready project, ready to go from a construction standpoint. LAP really likes those projects, and we think it could be a really good option and very competitive project because it is so shovel-ready, much needed, really improve the intersection, and especially with all those easements and design right-of-way already acquired and in place. So.
Any questions or feedback?
Feedback.
Yeah.
I think these are both great projects, and I appreciate the effort that went into them, especially I know we hear a lot about the sidewalk that would extend to the other end of Main Street, so that would make a lot of people happy.
Yeah. I don't have any issue at all. One thing that did cross my mind looking at the visual, you know, obviously we see customers backed up into Highway 70 at Bojangles, and I see that frequently. So is there any way to help with that? I mean, and should that turning lane that goes into Bojangles be extended 20 feet or 30 feet or all the way to the intersection? I just, you know, I'm sure there are rules engineering-wise why that's probably not a good thing, but, you know, if you're trying to when you cross, if you're on 70, you cross over Shotwell Road and then you bear to the right to turn in to go and get in line at Bojangles. So many times I have seen cars all the way out in that, like 6 deep on the highway. I don't know if there's a possibility or if it's out of the realm of possibility, but I just thought it was noteworthy.
So just to be sure I'm clear in understanding, you're referring to, so what is stacking in terms of the drive-through for Bojangles itself is stacking out into the right-of-way?
Correct, going through the intersection, and then as soon as you can bear right, not even to turn to get into the parking lot, but all of that roadway, all of that turning lane is pretty much always filled, and then there are right turns, and then a right turn to actually get into, to get in line to go into. Right. So people aren't using the back entrance to get into the drive-through, they're using the immediate entrance off of Highway 70, and I see those cars backed up there a lot.
Right.
So I don't know if there's room for expanding it so we can put 10 cars safely out of the way, or I don't know.
We will let us go back to the designers and NCDOT, look at the project, look at the specifics of it, and see if there was anything looked at that specifically, and then maybe see if there's any opportunities to further evaluate it and see if there's opportunities there. We can certainly do that. I
think that would be appreciated by a lot of folks.
Or maybe we get a second Bojangles.
Or maybe we modify drive-throughs across America in fast food. That would be good. Anyone else? All right. Thank you both.
Thank you.
All right, and next is going to be the street department dump truck purchase. Oh, Amy, I will give you the floor. My bad. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's only written in red. Hurricane Ian response update with Amy Sharon, Emergency Management Coordinator. In red. I'm sorry.
You made me nervous. I don't know anything about dump trucks. Again, good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. Amy Sharon with Clayton Fire Department. As you guys are well aware, Hurricane Ian came through, came past us sort of Friday night. The impacts were felt throughout town, and they continue to be felt, as Mr. Coppola mentioned at the beginning of this meeting. Our fire department responded to 35 weather-related calls, including a number of downed trees in our power lines, a code blue resulting from a carbon monoxide poisoning from an unvented generator, and odor investigations, which were later identified as the kerosene release. Our police department responded to numerous calls, including a wreck on Covered Bridge Road that resulted in a fatality, and directed traffic at inoperable traffic lights along Highway 70 in the pouring rain for multiple hours. The light at 70 in Shotwell, which hopefully we are fixing, had no estimated repair time from the DOT due to the damage to the box, and therefore our police department worked with our streets and our water and our fire department to set up barricades and reroute traffic, allowing only right-hand turn lanes in order to free them up and put them back into service. At the height of the storm, it's estimated that just over 4,100 Clayton Public Power customers were without power, and all of them had power restored by 10 p.m. on Friday evening. The water department was on site Friday and Saturday morning repairing a water main break at Moore and Atkinson Street. Our crews in our sewer department were checking pump stations all night with our power outages. The streets department spent numerous hours before the storm clearing storm drains and then cleaning debris from the roadways after the storm. Property maintenance was dealing with leaks throughout the weekend. Special shout out to Heather Probst and Penny Adams in our operations department, who spent Friday evening taking calls from our residents about power and water outages. And in addition to all of the personnel in the field, we also had numerous departments working remotely, including our information services department, fixing our phone lines, our communications department, emergency management, as well as our town administration well into the evening on Friday night and Saturday and Sunday. So it was a great team effort. We had some, good things that came out of it, some, interesting creative solutions to some problems to get our staff out of the rain. And so that was really all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks everyone for, all the excellent service that was provided to our citizens. A quick sidebar, I saw a friend of mine who lives in Johnston County still very upset because his electricity, was still off, and he was one of 23,000 customers, and he didn't know when he's going to get his electricity back, And then look at us in the town of Clayton. Yeah, our rates are a little bit more, without question, but our customer service is superior to anybody around here. And that goes for every other department in the town of Clayton too. Mr. Thompson.
I just, from what Amy said about all of the different departments involved, that's really an all hands on deck approach. Yep. When you're looking at water, sewer, electric, fire, streets, police, property maintenance, ops, admin, our communication, that's pulling together almost every department in the town. And I think when something like this happens, that's the way to resolve it. And that's a super use of resources. And I think, when you do your after-action reviews of this, I think we can identify other resources within town. Maybe there's something in other departments, could be Parks and Rec, could be other departments that we could utilize in these situations, because obviously you look how many departments you pulled together to handle this, and I think, let's analyze our personnel, analyze our assets. We may have dump trucks or heavy equipment in other departments that are underutilized, and let's see what we can do to, so that next time, we bring even more to the table, because this has been phenomenal, and the customer service our citizens received was outstanding. And I know I was out there in it some and soaked to the bone, and I was out there in it a lot less time than all of y'all were. And so I appreciate what everybody did.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, I'll now open the floor for informal discussion and public comment. Anyone wish to speak, please step forward and state your name for the record. All right, no one wishing to speak, I'll turn it over to council for comments. Mr. Sims.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things. First of all, I want to actually also thank Amy and her team for, we did a breakfast for all the workers, and some of us up here, we just kind of flip the omelets and put some pancakes on, but her team prepared everything and got it all ready. But the response that we got from the town employees and workers was just amazing. They really appreciate it. I just want to thank her for giving us the opportunity to be able to do that. Also, just want to piggyback a little bit off of what Jason said. And again, I think one of the things that Amy said that was really crucial is that she said that they're going to look at reevaluating, and to be good, you have to consistently reevaluate no matter how high your standard is. That's how you continue to get better. And just hearing her say that, I think that's why we are where we're at today, because no matter how good we do, we're always looking to do better. And again, I think the Clayton Police Department, the Fire Patrol, the operations, our new town manager, I think all of that really came together to allow us to be able to get through this thing as smoothly as possible.
Agreed. And I didn't know Andrea knew how to cook pancakes, so that was impressive.
I knew how to flip pancakes.
There you
Let's
go.
clarify.
All right, anyone else? All right, if there's no one else, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're going to call for a 10-minute break before we do that. So if there's no other business to come before this council, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Good night.